The other storyline that I'm tapped into is this in-season tournament. I am so interested. I don't know. Do you follow soccer, like world football like that? Or like
not
casual?
close. World Cup, like
okay.
big events I'll tap into for sure.
So ever since I tapped into soccer, I was fascinated by the idea that you can play in your league, and then there's all these other tournaments that y'all play in. You got the Champions League to see who's the champion of Europe. Then you have the FA Cup, which is like England only, domestic cup, amongst other leagues. So for those of y'all who ain't familiar, imagine if the NBA and the G League and the NCAA and the big three all played in a tournament. They had the equal opportunity to win a whole tournament. This is a single game elimination. And I think it's smart on the NBA's part to emulate soccer, because soccer and the NBA are the most analogous sports to one another, because you have individual stars, you have transcendent teams. It's a world sport, and they market off of the athleticism and the play of their stars. And they also have the type of regular seasons that are conducive to include this in-game tournament. What are your initial thoughts on the in-season tournament?
Well, I think I like it. I like it in concept. I like it in theory. I just feel like it's harder to replicate what they're doing in soccer, because you have the potential to get those matchups that you wouldn't normally get. Right. But with the NBA, it's like, okay, we have the Knicks versus the Wizards, and now this counts for the in-season tournament. It may take a couple of years to catch on, kind of like the play-in tournament, right? In the beginning, the play-in tournament was like, these guys are playing, they have no chance. Yep. And then Miami Heat and the Lakers pushed this thing up to the top of the league. So now you're saying, whoa, anything can happen. And so with the in-season tournament, I think it'll take a while for it to catch on. But one thing the NBA can do well and do right is marketing. And I love their rollout. I was out in Vegas when they rolled the whole thing out. I thought the whole thing was fantastic, the way they explained it, the way they pushed it, and it was blasted all over the Vegas Strip. I think they'll be able to get it done. And I'm looking forward to it, man. I'm hoping to be out there in Vegas for the semifinals and the finals to really take it all in and see how it's perceived.
Yeah, man, I'm right there with you, and I understand that they're trying to make the regular season, at least in the first half of the season, matter. So that's part of the reason why they wanted to institute, and also money. Sure. There's a lot of opportunities to bring more excitement, more TV dollars. I could see somewhere in the future the next rights deal. Maybe Amazon is the one that covers the NBA Cup. I'm calling it the NBA Cup. The in-season tournament is too much. You have to give it more life, like more flavor. Put some seasoning on it. Call it the NBA Cup, or name it after one of our legends. Imagine if it was the Kobe Cup. Not just discussing or whatever, but I could see them naming it after somebody and generating that. That's probably work for a later period for them. But I want you to listen to a proposal that I had. I was thinking about how could they make this in-season tournament matter?
That's what I want to know. Right.
Okay. Remember All-Star Game in Major League Baseball? AL and NL played, and they put home field advantage in the World Series on the line. I won't completely jump out the window, because there's no way, if I'm an owner, I'm not agreeing to something like that, because it's not it is my conference versus yours, but we're relying on individual teams, not the best of the best. If I'm like the Kansas City Royals or the Oakland A's, yes, please, Shohei, get us home field, please, if we can, right? And they actually stopped doing that. I didn't even know, like, this year that I think they stopped putting that on the line.
Yes.
My idea is the winner of the in-season tournament gets a guaranteed play-in spot. Regardless of what happens in the regular season, it becomes the ultimate tiebreaker. So let's say you are, who do we think? The Wizards. I was like, first thing tank when it comes to mind. The Wizards are more than likely not playing for a play-in spot this year unless something dramatic happens. But let's say the most unlikely occurrence, Washington somehow wins the play-in tournament. This way, wins the NBA Cup. They win the NBA Cup. Yeah. They'll have a guaranteed play-in spot, which would probably be number 10, depending on if they had the worst record in the league. If they win, if they get in the playoffs, it is what it is. If they don't, then you'd have to figure out the math and what's fair for the odds, because I don't think it's fair that you could get a number, basically have the 14% chance at the number one and then also get in the playoffs. But I do think if you can guarantee a play-in spot, then you know that at least the tanking teams are going to have to play their players. They're going to have to play because they know whether they want to or not, they're going to be in the tournament. So if you're a good team and you win and you get in, you just got your spot. Whatever spot you earn, you get. So if you're the Bucks and you win the play-in tournament and you get the number one seed, all right, we go on. But if you're like the Wizards or the Spurs and you have the worst record in the league, but you win the play-in, you will have an opportunity to get in the play-in. And if you lose, then we'll figure out the odds. Maybe you get what your spot is minus 5%. I'll leave it up to the stat nerds. But this would also give us the opportunity to see Wemby in a play-in game.
Yeah.
Or something like that. I mean, that's me spitballing. What do you think?
Yeah. It's interesting. I'm sitting there trying to think about it, like how would it work? You know what I mean? Or thinking about the drawbacks. I think it would certainly incentivize the bottom feeders to actually compete in this thing and try to win and then get into the play-in, and then you never know. I would say, like, okay, suppose you do have the Wizards go and they win it, but then they finish at like a 30-52 record. And then you have like the Pacers that have been scrapping and clawing to get in. Maybe do those two teams. Right. Maybe let's say the Pacers have a way better record, right? But they're on the bottom of that play-in. But San Antonio, or maybe they're in that 7, 8, 9 category, but then San Antonio kind of like jumps them, or the Wizards, sorry. So let's say the Wizards jump them and get that spot, or whoever's in 10th, right? Yeah. Whoever's in 10th. This is chaos.
I ain't gonna front. This is whole highly chaos. This is what I would say. What do they say to team number 11, CP? You should have won one more game.
Yeah.
You should have won one more game. Right. So if let's say we get total chaos. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 all finished with the same record. The tiebreaker is the play-in. I mean, the NBA Cup. The tiebreaker is the NBA Cup. So if the first tiebreaker would be the Cup. So by virtue of whatever, if we all had the same record, first tie-in, did you win the in-season tournament? First tiebreaker, did you win the in-season tournament? You won, then you would be 7. And then you figure out the tiebreakers from 8 through 11. Because at that point, you know what Adam Silver would say? You should have won the in-season tournament. You should have been treating these games, because now you have a guaranteed spot. Because just like world football, when let's say you're Manchester United, right, and you win the Champions League, the top 4 in their league get a guaranteed Champions League spot. But if you also finish in the top 4, I believe, and I know the soccer nerds may come from me, I don't feel like looking it up, but I believe the next, either one team gets bumped out or they allow the next team as well, because they already have a guaranteed spot. And because of money, prestige, the top leagues in Europe, they want the top 4, regardless of who they are. So if they're number 1, if you got your spot, they'll just take 4 more. And it just moves like that. But because, like you said, one of the drawbacks is it isn't like Bucks versus Real Madrid baloncesto, or like Bayern Munich basketball, right? I don't know how to say basketball in German. Somebody Google translate that for me. But that would be an ill NBA Cup, and that's probably 20 years down the line, where we include the world. Where we literally we get the world championship.
Yes. Now we get the Noah Lyles Memorial Cup.
right. Exactly. I do think that would be the case. But that's why I appreciate when people are thinking about these ways to innovate the league and bring more interest, because you got to think they're thinking about different ways that they can inject excitement, make it fair. Because I originally was going to say, we should give somebody the winner a one-time salary cap exemption that they could put $30 million under their cap just for that offseason. So if there is a blockbuster trade to be made, the luxury tax, that second apron, you can disregard it if you win the tournament. Which would incentivize the good teams to keep on winning. You know how people talk about the lottery and they say, why is it that these players can't dictate where they go? It should be an open market. That's another way to make it an open market, but that also has to be approved of the CBA like everything else. And I am not a capologist either. I could already see the money in the financials, and I could see an advantage to big market teams. But once again, if you don't want it to happen, you gotta play. You gotta play hard every game, and I think that's one of the along with these load management rules and all this other stuff they're trying to institute. They want people to take the entire season seriously because let's be real, CP, they're not cutting these games. Yeah, it's 82. Yeah. They're not gonna go higher. They can't. No. They can't. But it's going to be 82 unless something drastic happens, right? Yeah. So we got to make sure that our fans are tapped in and engaged along with our players for the whole season. So I think in-season tournament is a start. And I don't really subscribe to the whole regular season doesn't matter thing. I think it does. You practice how you play. It is practice. I do understand the Warriors, the 73-9 kind of tanked everything I just said. But I do think that those games do matter because it's a barometer for how you may perform, especially for the non-contender, no doubt about it contenders, right?